the red steel of the Eastern Front. They did not have time. They did not have comfort. They did not have the luxury of perfection. What they had was urgency. When Operation Barbarossa shattered the Soviet Union in 1941, thousands of tanks burned across the Western Plains. Entire formations vanished in weeks. But out of disaster, the Red Army rebuilt its armored forces faster than any nation in history. This is not a story of elegant engineering or rare machines. This is the story of mass, resilience, and relentless pressure. From interwar relics to the machines that crushed Berlin, this is the complete armored backbone of the Soviet Union in World War II. Early war light tanks. T-18, MS-1. The Soviet Union's first domestically produced tank. Designed in the late 1920s, the T-18 was already obsolete by the time war approached. Lightly armored and slow, it saw limited use as a training and rear-area defense vehicle during the early months of the war. T-26. The most numerous Soviet tank of the 1930s. Cheap, simple, and widely produced, the T-26 formed the backbone of Red Army armored units at the start of the war. Its 45mm gun could destroy early German tanks, but thin armor and poor survivability led to devastating losses in 1941. BT-5. Fast, lightly armored, and designed for maneuver warfare. The BT-5 embodied Soviet pre-war doctrine, speed over protection. On paper, it was revolutionary. In combat, it proved dangerously fragile. BT-7. The final and most refined BT series tank. Faster and better armed than its predecessors, the BT-7 could reach remarkable speeds. But against German anti-tank guns, speed alone was not enough. The transition. T-28. A multi-turreted medium tank inspired by 1930s design philosophy. Armed with multiple machine guns and a 76mm cannon, the T-28 looked formidable but was mechanically complex and vulnerable. It served mainly in the Winter War and early defensive battles. T-35. A land battleship. With 5 turrets and massive size, the T-35 symbolized pre-war excess. In reality, it was unreliable and slow. Most were lost to breakdowns rather than enemy fire during the retreat of 1941. The Revolution. T-34, Model 1940, 1941, 1942, 1943. The most important tank of World War II. Sloped armor. Wide tracks. A powerful 76mm gun. The T-34 was not perfect, but it was good enough in every category. It shocked the Wehrmacht in 1941 and became the backbone of Soviet armored power. Over 50,000 were built, turning industrial output into battlefield dominance. Heavy tanks. KV-1. Named after Kliment Voroshilov, the KV-1 was nearly invulnerable early in the war. German anti-tank guns struggled to penetrate its thick armor. However, weight and mechanical unreliability limited its effectiveness. KV-2. A mobile fortress armed with a massive 152mm howitzer. Designed to destroy bunkers, the KV-2 was terrifying when operational, but slow, tall, and mechanically fragile. Many were abandoned during retreats. Adaptation. T-34-85. The answer to German Panthers and Tigers. With an upgraded turret and 85mm gun, the T-34-85 restored Soviet firepower parity. It became the standard Soviet medium tank from 1944 onward and led the final offensives into Eastern Europe and Germany. The new heavies. IS-1, JS-1. The first tank of the IOC Stalin series. Armed with an 85mm gun, it was produced in limited numbers but laid the foundation for heavier breakthrough tanks. IS-2. One of the most feared tanks of the late war. Its 122mm gun could destroy any German tank and shatter fortifications. Designed for assault and breakthrough operations, The IS-2 spearheaded the Red Army's final push toward Berlin. Light tanks. T-50, an advanced but expensive light tank. Intended to replace the T-26, the T-50 had excellent armor for its class but was too complex for mass production during wartime. T-60, a wartime emergency tank. Lightly armed and armored, the T-60 filled gaps when heavier tanks were unavailable. It was vulnerable but numerous. T-70, an improvement over the T-60. With better armor and a more powerful gun, the T-70 served in reconnaissance and infantry support roles throughout the mid-war years. Self-Propelled Guns. Su-76. The most produced Soviet self-propelled gun. Light, simple, and versatile, the Su-76 supported infantry and provided mobile firepower despite thin armor. Su-85. Built on the T-34 chassis, the Su-85 mounted an 85mm gun designed to counter German heavy tanks. It was effective but quickly replaced by more powerful designs. Su-100. One of the finest tank destroyers of the war. Armed with a 100mm gun, it could defeat Panthers and Tigers at long range and remained in service long after the war. ISU-152. A heavy assault gun armed with a 122mm cannon. Designed for both anti-tank combat and bunker destruction, it combined firepower with thick armor. ISU-152. Nicknamed the Beast Killer. Its massive 152mm gun could destroy German heavy tanks through sheer explosive force. It became a symbol of Soviet assault warfare. Lend-Lease contributions. M3 Stuart, Soviet service. Used primarily for reconnaissance and training. Lightly armored and fast, it filled gaps during critical periods. M3 Leogrand. Tall and awkward, but heavily armed. Though unpopular with crews, it provided valuable firepower during the darkest years of the war. M4 Sherman, Soviet service. Reliable, comfortable, and well-equipped. While not loved for its armor, the Sherman was respected for its reliability and served extensively from 1943 onward. The Red Army did not win with elegance. It won with factories moved east, with simplified designs, with crews trained in combat. Soviet tanks were built to fight, break, and advance again and again. From outdated interwar machines to the brutal power of the IS-2, Soviet armor crushed the Axis through numbers, adaptation, and relentless momentum. This was not just steel. It was survival made mechanical. Question of the day. Which Soviet tank do you believe had the greatest impact on the outcome of the Eastern Front? Let me know in the comments.